always at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback podcast time. Welcome to the show, everyone. We have made it to draft week. Officially, the 49ers will go on the clock on Thursday, and they will start making their selections for the 2025 NFL draft, starting with pick 11. Well, probably. There's always the chance that they trade back. There's all been the rumors about them possibly trading up. But we do know the 49ers are going to be looking to improve their football team Thursday, Friday, and Saturday for the 2025 NFL draft. Super excited about it because they have holes to fill, and they're going to do their best to fill the holes with some players that can come in and be instant impact players. I think since 2017, the 49ers haven't needed instant impact players coming from the draft. So it's a new day. It's a new time for this 49ers organization as far as this current regime. Since 2019, they've been basically drafting for future seasons. Now they're drafting for the current season. And along the way, you've got to get really good players in all rounds, not just in round one, but throughout this draft. Part of what makes the 49ers' success in the draft so good, and you might argue that fact, but they are actually ranked number 8 since 2019 as far as draft picks in the Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch era. So they have been doing it at a high level. They've been hitting on a lot of picks, especially guys in mid to late rounds, which they're going to have to do again because they have holes to fill. And when you have holes to fill, you've got to be very good in the draft. Now, last year kind of sets forth a blueprint on how the 49ers intend to draft, where they just get guys who are going to be able to step in and make plays. And you got Ricky Pearsall in round 1. That worked out. Ricky Pearsall looks like he's going to be a very solid pro in the NFL. In round 2 is Renardo Green. He stepped into a starting role last year. He's going to start again in 2025, a solid player. Then you look in the 3rd round, it was Dominic Pooney, day 1 starter at guard. He's going to be a consummate starter for the rest of his career, probably, for the 49ers. We'll see. They moved on from Banks, right? They moved on from Tomlinson. Could they potentially move on from Pooney in a few years? We'll find out. Don't have to worry about that right now. Dominic Pooney is going to be that guy. Then they went ahead and got Malik Mustafa. Started a lot of games last year at safety. Very good player. He's probably going to start. I would say it's more than likely he's going to start at safety. And then you got Isaac Guerendo, who's a nice rotational piece who had some really big moments for the 49ers last year. So you've sitting in a good situation where you've got a lot of players that are going to be helping your football team. Now you've got to duplicate it. One way you do that is by locating players in each round that the scouts absolutely love. They find players that they have to get, right? It was certain guys that looked at Brock Purdy and said, hey, this is our guy. We feel convicted to draft him. And it came out, the 49ers had a 3rd round grade on him, but ultimately they decided to take him late in the 7th round, the last pick, in fact. So sometimes players fall. Another guy like that, that they kind of fell was Elijah as well, the running back. And I just went blank on his name for whatever reason, the last name, but a guy that, fell that they got in the 6th round. So you can have guys that can go ahead and make big plays for your football team that you get in the mid-round. So what we're going to do in this episode is these are pound the table guys from me. So these are guys that through the process of evaluating different draft picks, and it's Elijah Mitchell. So if you put it in the comment section, I remembered. These are guys that I pound the table for. It doesn't mean it's just guys I like. There's a lot of players you like in the draft. These are players that you really love. You think that they are the guys you're convicted on. And it's throughout the draft. It's not just first rounders, but these are guys either that you are just completely sold on as prospects, or you see them higher than everybody else, right? So an example through the years of guys who I have been on this track with, and there's been plenty of guys I was that didn't end up being anything, but there are some that hit, right? Danny Gray, I was very high on him, said he's going to be a 3rd round pick. He was. Last year was Dominic Pooney. Very high on him. I said, hey, this dude's going to be a stud. He's a version of a 1st round player. He's going to be an absolute stud, and he was. Now, like I said, for all those, there's misses. But I'm going to go through my guys. And I just want to put it out there who these guys are. These are my pound the table guys, Ants pound the table guys. So hope you guys are all excited. It's going to be a fun one. We're going to go through several prospects, talk about them. If you don't hear your favorite guy, let me know about it in the comment section down below. And, hey, I everyone's got their guys, and that's what's great about this process. So like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you're listening to audio platform, 49ers Cutback on Believe Network, please give it a 5-star rating. And if you are going to bet with Bet Online. Bet Online is the world's most trusted betting platform. Their number one source for all your sports betting action. Baseball season's in full swing, and we're on the home stretch for NBA and NHL. Playoffs has more ways to stay in the action with the latest odds, news, and scores, and even live in-game betting while the games are being played. With a large selection of odds on everything from MLB, NHL, and UFC, Bet Online remains the number one online source for all your sports wagering info. In between games, head on over to the Bet Online casino with all the top Vegas-style games, including poker and live casino. Bet Online, the game starts here. So I have been building this for a while, and if you have me on Patreon, I went through some of my favorite guys with breakdowns. So you probably are going to have a little bit of a glimpse of who some of those guys are. It's rounded into form for sure as this process has went on. And this isn't exactly like, I'm not saying, hey, these are the top 20 guys the 49ers are going to take, for instance. I'm saying these are the guys that I would pound the table for to try to convince John Lynch to take. And so just remember that when we're going through it. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, hey, these are the guys that I like the most. And I'm going to start in the first round with Jihad Campbell. Jihad Campbell, to me, is a day one impact player in the NFL. And I get it. He tore a labrum. He underwent surgery. He's rehabilitating for that. We don't know what the start date is going to be. Maybe that makes him fall into the late first round, potentially into the early second round. I get that. But a healthy Jihad Campbell, from what I've seen on tape, is a first-round talent, and he's a top 15 talent. I would even venture to say that if you were looking for a linebacker in this draft, it would not be too early to go in the top 10. That's how convicted I am about how good Jihad Campbell is going to be in the NFL. When you're talking sideline to sideline, he handles it. When you're talking about coverage, he's phenomenal. Now, do I think the 49ers would take Jihad Campbell at 11? I don't really think so. And it would make a lot of sense if they did, because he could step in day one and play in place of Dre Greenlaw. This would be the guy that's a prototypical Fred Warner guy, 6'3", 235 pounds, just like Fred. He's actually got a longer wingspan than Fred. He's faster than Fred. Fred just over 4'6". Jihad Campbell, a 4'5", These guys are, when you're talking prototypical 49ers linebacker, it fits, right? The 49ers have two types. They have the guy that's sub 6 foot that can absolutely hit you. That's a really good run stopper. That's pretty good in coverage. And then they have the guy that's your coverage linebacker that's built like Fred with a long wingspan. That's 6'3", 235 pounds, that can run. That's good. Former safety at falling into drops. That's the key. Most of these guys have the coverage ability. So some of them former safeties, a lot of them former safeties. I think Jihad Campbell would be fantastic. So he's my number one guy I would pound the table for. And I get it. 11 might be a little bit early for a lot of people. But I just think this guy is that good. And I'm not saying the 49ers are going to take him, because I don't think they're going to take him. But I think he should be in the conversation because he's that good. Next up is Nick Emanwari. And I'm probably one of the ones that's highest on him out of anyone. But with the way that he moves, I think he has the potential to be a complete safety. I think he can play free. I think he can play strong. I think he can come in the box and light you up. I think he's going to be able to play the deep third. I think he's going to match up pretty well with a lot of tight ends with the size that he is and the ability to run a 4-3. The length, I think it's just too much talent in one player. And I think the more he gets accustomed to a defense, he's going to feel more comfortable. He's not going to think, he's actually going to be better and better in the league. I think that he's a dynamite prospect. A lot of people, I've even seen the PFF, some of their guys, Trevor Sikkema, had him as safety number 5. To me, this dude is the number one safety in the draft, and I get it. Malachi Starks is fantastic, and I have Malachi Starks right there with him. But Nick Emanwari just jumps off the screen for me. I'm convicted on him. I've said I thought he was a top 20 pick. I still believe that. I think he's a top 20 pick. I think Jihad Campbell is a top 15 pick. These two guys I'm bullish on. I love these guys. I think they're extreme talents. I don't think the 49ers are going to go Nick Emanwari in round one, but he's just one of those guys. If they did, I would completely understand it. Next up is going to be offensive guard Donovan Jackson. And if you've been on the channel through my draft process, you know Donovan Jackson's been the guy I've probably been the highest on the entire time. Consistently, I think he's the best interior offensive lineman in this draft. And I get it. A lot of people, talk about Booker. A lot of people talk about Gray Zabel. And they're good. They're really good. And I don't want to take anything away from them. Tyler Booker in a gap scheme is phenomenal. I just don't think he fits the 49ers scheme. And that's the lens that I look through when evaluating talent. So I think that Tyler Booker is going to be great in the right type of scheme. I think he's going to have a 10-year career in the NFL. I think he's laterally quick enough to be able to handle faster interior pass rushers. He's wide, he's long. All those things are great. But he's not going to make my list because my list is definitely molded towards the 49ers way of thinking. And so that's what I'm evaluating. I think Donovan Jackson can handle every scheme. He's got the ability to get to second level. The guy showed the versatility to play tackle. He's got a really good anchor on the inside. I think he could handle big interior offensive or defensive linemen. He's just got it all. To me, Donovan Jackson is a plug and play. You need a starting left guard, boom, draft him, plug him, he's good. You need somebody in case of an injury to slide out to left tackle, he's got you. That's the kind of talent I think Donovan Jackson is. I think he's a day one perennial Pro Bowl caliber guard. And so if the 49ers were looking to get somebody opposite of Dominic Pooney, Donovan Jackson would be that guy. And do I think 11 is too high? I think it is for an interior offensive lineman. I've been pretty consistent on this. I wouldn't draft an interior offensive lineman in the top 20. I don't think there's enough value there. I think if you're taking an offensive tackle, it makes sense. Defensive end, yes. Quarterback, yes. I think those hold the most positional value. That's why they don't have G.I. Campbell going to the 49ers. Same sort of thing, right? Linebacker into first round. Donovan Jackson, interior offensive lineman into first round. I think there's a lot of value there. 49ers don't pick at the end of the first round. So they would potentially have to trade either back and maybe be sitting in that range to draft Donovan Jackson, which I think would be great value, or he needs to be available in the early second round where either pick 43, he's still there, or they trade up to get him. So Donovan Jackson would be the premier interior offensive lineman for me and someone that I would pound the table for. And I think there's going to be a lot of scouts in the NFL draft process that are going to pound the table for Donovan Jackson. Just so clean, so athletic, so good. I think he's going to be really good in the league. Next up, Nick Scorton out of Texas A&M. And everyone's talking Shamar Stewart, and Shamar Stewart is a dynamite athlete. But Nick Scorton, to me, is way better when it comes to technique, handwork. He's got a nasty spin move when offensive linemen overset in their slide. I think he does a really good job of winning on the inside. We've seen consistency from him because he produced so well at Purdue, and then you see him come into Texas A&M, and even though production across the board for Texas A&M defensive line, not good, right? Whether Shamar Stewart or Shamar Turner or Nick Scorton, he still had 6.5 sacks last year, meaning he could still win, even though it seems that defensive scheme was hindering all those prospects, and maybe that is something to remember when evaluating Shamar Stewart, but you just see the complete player Nick Scorton is. He can set the edge against the run. He's good in that department. He can get after the quarterback. He can move inside on obvious pass downs and rush from the inside. He's got the power to do that. You've got the speed, power, technique, more bend than some of the other guys that might go ahead of him. Nick Scorton, to me, is a very solid prospect, a first-round prospect, and we're seeing teams at the end of the first round meet with him. So at 11, that might be too rich for the 49ers, but in a situation where he falls into early second round, once again, 49ers could make a move up, and they have met with guys in that range, right? A Landon Jackson and some of those defensive ends that could fall into round 2 potentially that they could target if they decide to go a different direction in round 1. So Donovan Jackson is phenomenal. Nick Scorton is phenomenal. Those are probably going to be guys that are going to be in a range the 49ers can't get, which is frustrating, but they're two of my favorite guys in this draft. Next up is cornerback Trey Amos. I have a first-round grade on him. So last year, one of the guys that was one of my guys was Kamari Lassiter. And I had Lassiter with a first-round grade. He went in the early 30s to the Houston Texans. So scheme fit for the 49ers. Lassiter's big hang-up was he ran a 4.5 40. Trey Amos came in and ran a 4.43, so there's no question marks about speed now. He's long, he plays around the football. This dude's got natural instincts in zone coverage. He's got the ability to play press man if needed. He's a very physical player as a boundary corner, stepping up and setting the edge outside, being a force defender, making plays again in the run game. Those are all necessary to play in the 49ers system. So you've got a very talented, long player that fits the 49ers scheme to a T. My problem is, like I said, I think he's a first-round guy that goes at the end of the first round. I think one of those teams at the end of the first round, like the Baltimore Ravens, could end up snatching him up because I do think he fits really well with what they're looking for, and I think he's going to be dynamic in the league. So Trey Amos, if he fell to 43, that would be a great selection for the 49ers. I think they would be all in on Trey Amos. It might be higher than they want to take cornerback in this draft, to be honest. Just looking and reading the tea leaves of what's going on, that might be a little bit earlier than they want to go cornerback. But I think Trey Amos would be a dynamite pick. So he's one of my guys, and I would definitely pound the table for him at pick 43. Now, in the second round, there's going to be a guy that I'm higher on than probably anybody. Now, it doesn't mean people don't like him, because a lot of people love this guy. He did meet with the 49ers on 30 visits, but I've been high on this guy for a long time. I'm high on him now. I've actually seen him play since he was in high school, but that's not why I evaluate him the way he is. I just evaluate him the way he is because he's one of the best pass rushing defensive tackles in the whole draft, if not the best pass rushing defensive tackle in the whole draft, with a plus 20% win rate on pass rushes. And that's Omar Norman Lott. And a lot of people have been putting a third round grade on him because they don't like the way he plays the run. I see the value in having a defensive tackle that gets after the quarterback. So one of my things, right, when I'm talking about one text, for instance, is the fact that if they don't have pass rush upside, I don't think that they should be first-round draft picks because you need 3 down players. Once you get past the first round, I think that's when you can start taking some of these guys that are 2 down players, potentially 1 down player. Who knows? But I think Omar Norman Lott fits that early. You bring him in as a designated pass rusher early on. Right now, you've got a perfect situation. You've got guys like Evan Anderson that can stop the run. So Evan Anderson plays early down. Say you get first down, they get a stop, right? He goes 2nd and 11. Now you can bring in Omar Norman Lott, and he can come rush the passer on 2nd and 3rd down. Now let's say that Evan Anderson plays both the 1st and 2nd down. That's fine. Then Omar Norman Lott comes in to rush the passer because one of his skill sets, like I said, is that elite pass rush ability. He's got the lateral quickness to give bigger guards a problem, and he's got enough power to be able to get a push. But a real good pass rush plan, good off the football. He's got good handwork. This is a solid prospect in day 2. And I think that the 49ers, because they've met with him, either think one of 2 things can happen. That they could take him at 43, which would be maybe a little bit early for what most people think. But what happened last year? Ricky Pearsall, earlier than what most people think. Bernardo Green, earlier than what most people think. Dominic Pooney, earlier than what most people think. So I think that they don't mind going a little bit early, half round early to get their guy. They also could be looking to jump up from 75. So Lott falls into the 60s, and you could jump up and get him. So I think Omar Norman Lott fits for what the 49ers do. I love his skill set. I think he's going to be a dynamic defensive tackle in the league with elite pass rush skills that I think can develop into a solid run stopper. Is he ever going to be great at it? No, but I think he could be sufficient. I think he's better than what people think stopping the run. He's just got to get more reps. He's got to get more work. Next up is going to be another cornerback, and that's Darian Porter at Iowa State. And I absolutely love this guy. The 6'3" frame, the ability to drive on the football, the ball skills because he's a former wide receiver. He makes plays on the football. He's long, pass deflected, and he's just one of those guys that when it comes to coverage, this is one of the best dudes in the draft when it comes to coverage. The question marks for Darian Porter all are around his physicality, his tackling, playing the run. When it comes to coverage, this is a dude that's developing. And I think he's going to get even better the more time he plays defense. So this is a little bit of a prospect that's going to have to develop, right? We start getting into these where we're drafting for certain traits, right? Omar Norman Lott's a pass rusher, and Darian Porter is a great cover guy that needs to get a little bit better when it comes to stopping the run. But one of the ways that you benefit yourself is you play nickel most of the time, anyways. He's going to play boundary. So his job is to come up, get out there, and force the play back inside. Now, we do need him to be physical. He's got to get better at being a tackler. But I love the coverage skills. I love how comfortable he looks in zones. His recognition of concepts and routes is one of the reasons I love it. He played wide receiver. He understands what a offense is trying to do when it comes to routes and concepts. And so that's something that plays into his mind. You can see it when he's out there. He just is able to have an innate ability to get where he's supposed to get. Sometimes it looks like he's running the route for the receiver because he understands by sets, by splits, by formation, by drop of the quarterback. There's a lot of things that play into it, and it registers really fast for him. So I like Darian Porter. I think he could be a in round 2 guy or an early round 3 guy. I think at pick 75, he could be right in the 49ers wheelhouse if he falls there, because teams are going to have concerns potentially about stopping the run. So do you have enough upside when it comes to coverage? I think you do. Now, he may make a lot of people nervous because of his ability to stop the run. We've had players that struggled with that, right? Ambry Thomas, Akilla Witherspoon, to name a couple, weren't as physical at the point of attack, and that made it a little bit more difficult. But he's not afraid to reroute guys. He's not afraid of physicality. He's just not very good at tackling right now, something he's got to get better at. But I love Darian Porter in that position. Next up, Iowa State wide receiver Jaden Higgins. I think Higgins is going to be a really good wide receiver in the NFL. The 6'4", 214 pounds. He's able to run a 4.40. This dude, 4.5, 4.4, I think it was 4.47. Dude can run. And I think that he is the very closest to Tet McMillan that we have in this draft. The big guy that can get in and out of breaks. And that's what I love about him, is when he gets to the top of his stem, most guys who have his height and those long legs aren't able to get out of their break quickly. They're not able to create separation. They're a little bit of a lumber when it comes to getting out. So cornerbacks are able to drive and kind of stay on them, and then they have to use their big, long length just to be able to make a play, and that's a little bit more difficult. It doesn't provide opportunities for yards after the catch. Higgins is not one of those guys. He's one of those rare breeds that even though he's 6'4" and 215 pounds, he can get in and out of his break like somebody that's 6 foot and 190 pounds. Like, he's just got that ability. You throw in the ball skills, he can go up and get the football. Very talented, can run any route that you're asking him to run. He's got very good hands. He's a willing blocker. He's got to get better when it comes to blocking, but this is a Niners guy through and through. Like, if you told me you were drafting him to play X and he was going to go out there and he was going to start day one until Brandon Ayuk came back, I'd have been like, this is the kind of guy that can do it. So he makes a lot of sense for the 49ers, and this would be high. I think there's a chance he goes in round 1, but pick 43, Jaden Higgins, if he's still around, if you need to go wide receiver, right? Demarcus Robinson, according to Matt Mayoko, potentially going to be suspended for the first 3 games. You can go Jawan Jennings with Ricky Pearsall, and you can fill in some of those other holes with Russell Gage and Isaiah Hodgins, and you could still go Amari Cooper, right? You could still sign him after the draft. Like, I'm not saying that there's not other options still available, because there is, but getting a Jaden Higgins, this is a 49ers guy through and through, the size, but the ability to run really good routes. I think Jaden Higgins will be one of those guys, and he's one of my guys. He's a pound-the-table guy for me. I think he's going to have a great career in the NFL. And then another offensive lineman, Arianti Ursary, out of Minnesota. He played left tackle, had some really good film against Abdul Carter, but I see this dude moving inside early in his career. I think if the 49ers took him in the second round, which they did meet with him, if they took him in the second round at pick 43, they could plug and play him at left guard right now. He's big, he's physical, he's strong, he's got a tremendous anchor, and he's got the ability to play tackle in the NFL too. But I think you could plug and play him at left guard for year 1, and he could just sit there, soak up, and learn what Trent Williams does. And eventually he could take over the left tackle position. I think that he has that potential to play left tackle in the NFL. And I know a lot of people see him as a guard prospect, and I like him as a guard, and I think he'd be a dynamite guard. And you can take a guy as just a guard at pick 43, right? Aaron Banks, pick 45, a little while back. He is a far superior athlete. He runs a 4.940. None of the question marks that befell Banks are going to be problems for Ursary. The length is there, the speed is there, the athleticism is there, the nastiness is there. You want somebody that moves somebody from point A to point B, you want to be able to run around the goal line. Arianti Ursary provides that. I think this is one of the best of both world situations where you get a day one starting guard who also could eventually be your replacement for your left tackle, Trent Williams. This is that guy. I mean, he is a mover. He's a guy that fits and checks all the boxes. He's an absolute stud. If you haven't watched Arianti Ursary, go watch it. He's one of my guys at pick 43. No Donovan Jackson. I'm absolutely pounding the table for Arianti Ursary. I think he's a dynamite player, would fit really well with what the 49ers like to do. In the third round, we've got Ashton Gillotte. I like Ashton Gillotte a lot out of Louisville. 6'3", 265 pounds, played up, even higher than that weight-wise. Dude is a really good pass rusher. One of the best win rates when it comes to defensive edge rushers in the entire draft, but he's undersized, so no one talks about him. Whether he was playing outside and rushing from a wide 9, or he was playing on the inside in a 3-tech or a 4-eye, he was consistently winning. Another guy that handles pass rush so well. A guy that just grades out as one of the top in the league, over a 95 percentile pass rush guy. Phenomenal. Then you look at him against the run, and he sets a hard edge against the run. He's got a motor that just won't stop. He's got a sufficient get off. It's pretty good. It's not elite, but it's pretty good. And you just have all the makings of a guy that's a really good player that plays with his hair on fire. One of those guys that could be a solid rotational piece with your defensive edge rushers who would put pressure on. And I like the versatility. He can set the edge and play on base downs on the outside and first and second down, stopping the run. Then when you get to third down, you could move him inside and he could rush the passer from the inside. His lateral quickness is very good, and that would give a lot of interior offensive linemen problems, but he still has enough power as well to be able to get a little bit of push and not get drove off the football. Ashton Gillotte is one of my guys in the third round. I think he's going to be a very fun pick. Terrence Ferguson, tight end out of Oregon. I think he's phenomenal. He's one of my guys. I just really like him, and I get it. A lot of people, are Harold Fannin Jr., which Harold Fannin Jr. is great. And, there's a lot of guys that they love. Mason Taylor, he's good. Gunnar Helm, and I like Gunnar Helm. But something about Terrence Ferguson just makes him my guy. The way he operates in space, the way he catches the football, the yards after the catch, I really like. I think he's a guy that could develop into a very solid tight end in the NFL. I think right now he could come in, be your day one move tight end, play in certain situations with Kittle, and then eventually I think he could develop his blocking to be a more consistent player that could play on first and second down, whether he was catching the football or blocking. So developmental into a dual threat kind of tight end, I think is there. But Terrence Ferguson is a dynamite player, and one I would pound the table for, probably starting in the third round. You get to pick 75, you get to pick 100. I think that is probably a really good area for him. He might go before the 49ers pick at 100. I think he's a top 100 player in this draft. Now, one that's probably going to get pushed back, but this is one of my guys when it comes to stopping the run, Danny Stutzman, linebacker, Oklahoma. Once again, 6'3", 233 pounds. Ran a 4.5 240. When you're talking measurables, he's Jihad Campbell measurables. Now, him and Jihad Campbell are extremely different when it comes to play on the field. Jihad Campbell is better in coverage than Danny Stutzman. Danny Stutzman is a better run stopper right now than Jihad Campbell. Just keeping it real. The way he flows through second level traffic, the way he squares up players in the hole and finds his window is next level. Now, Danny Stutzman is not close to as good as Jihad Campbell in coverage. That's not close. So there are polar opposites with how they win, but I love Danny Stutzman's ability to stop the run. I think he's one of the best run-stopping linebackers in this draft. I think he's just clean. He finds ways to get the ball to the ball carrier. He finds his windows. He doesn't get fooled very much. Where you're going to have the differences between him and Campbell and why Stutzman's a end round 3, early round 4 prospect and Campbell's 1. Lateral quickness, ability to cover in space, which you have to do in the nickel. Jihad Campbell has way better feel for that. He's got way more lateral quickness than Danny Stutzman, so he can move side to side, and that means he doesn't get caught up in misdirection. He's able to avoid a little bit better, and he's able to stack and shed a little bit better. So Stutzman, that's why he's this low. But, man, when you talk about the ability to get there in the run game, he does it in a high level. I like Danny Stutzman in this draft. Next up, I'm going to go with a cornerback, and this will be, when you're starting to get to day 3 picks now, Quincy Riley out of Louisville, 5'10", 190 pounds, could be a nickel corner in the next level. The 49ers did meet with him in a 30 visit, but you're talking scrappy. And I love scrappiness. I like a quick drive, physicality at the point of attack. He gives me Deommodore Lenoir vibes, and he's not, a guy that, a lot of people would probably put in that category, but that's who I see him as, one of those guys that's kind of in that mix, to mix it up in the middle. He comes up and stop the run, got that physicality. I don't think he's just a nickel corner. I do think he could compete on the outside. I think he's got plus coverage skills, so I like him a lot. And so Quincy Riley in the day 3 would make a lot of sense for the 49ers. At running back, Bashul Tutin out of Virginia Tech, 4.3 40 guy, elite speed, but also has the vision and also has contact balance and physicality at the point of attack. He is not a small player. He goes at 208 pounds. So even though he's short, he's got the quickness and he's got some really good power when he's running. The vision's there, the contact balance is there, he breaks tackles, and he's a whole shot guy. You need somebody to help you with kick return? Boom, he's got you. And it would give the 49ers 2 home run threats in their running back room with Isaac Arendo and Bashul Tutin. And Tutin can catch the ball in the backfield. He caught some screens. He's got the ability to do that. Very stout and physical, really built well. He's not a guy that is really fast. It's going to get hit and go flying across the field. This dude also delivers a blow. So I like him a lot. He's a guy that I have a lot of belief in. Linebacker Chandler Martin out of Memphis. This is another pound-the-table guy for me, and you've probably heard about him a lot if you've been listening to the channel. He's a sideline-to-sideline guy. He's a thumper, right? I didn't talk about Demetrius Knight. I love Demetrius Knight, but he's not one of my pound-the-table guys, but he's a really, I'm a really big fan of him. I just think pretty much everyone has him in the same spot. Well, Chandler Martin is Demetrius Knight-esque later on in this draft, and I have a 4th-round grade on Chandler Martin. Most people are probably going to have him as 7th round undrafted. I'm perfectly okay going on my own limb with Chandler Martin. I think he's a stud, and I think he's going to be a really dynamite special teams player right off the bat, and I think he's got the potential to play well in this league. A little bit of development needs to happen, but when you're talking about a day 3 pick that has the potential to be a starter at some point in the NFL, that's who Chandler Martin is. The speed, the physicality, the playmaking. He comes up with interceptions. He comes up with fumbles. He's a stud. He runs really good. This is an absolute savage, and I love the way that he plays. So Chandler Martin. Jack Nelson, offensive tackle, Wisconsin. And, of course, I think he's an offensive guard in the NFL. So this would be one of my guys who translates. He's 6'7". He's over 320 pounds, and he moves well. 5'1", 40, plenty athletic enough to be able to get to the second level. He's got the proper hips to be able to get some guys turned. But he's got an anchor, and he squares people up. Once he squares you up and he gets his hands on you, they're like vice grips. You're not getting any movement. So he does a really good job of anchoring and holding those guys off. I think he would be a great selection if you're looking for an offensive tackle to move inside. I think that's the best place for him. Then it gives him enough lateral quickness to not worry about dealing with the speedier edge rushers, but now he can deal with athletic defensive tackles, which I think he would do at a high level. His arm length is pretty good, but really good to play on the inside. Jack Nelson, to me, makes a lot of sense for the 49ers to be a tackle that they move inside. So, you don't get a guy like Ursery or Donovan Jackson. You'll get a Jack Nelson later. Move him inside. I think he's extremely talented, and I think that he's got a little bit of a better anchor than a guy like Ben Barch. And Ben Barch is pretty good. Nick Zakel's got a better anchor than Barch, and I think that Jack Nelson would have a better anchor as well when you're talking pass blocking. But I think that he would be as effective when it came to run blocking as well. Defensive tackle Aeneas Peebles. I say it like this. If you love Omar Norman-Lott, I don't know how you don't love Aeneas Peebles a little bit later in the draft. They are built very similar. Weight, size, athleticism, pass rush plans through the roof. He's got the technique and skills to be able to make people miss. Really good arm over move. Aeneas Peebles is one of the better pass rushers. Once again, Gelati, Omar Norman-Lott, and Aeneas Peebles, 3 of the best pass rushers in this entire draft when it comes to win rate. And Peebles, if he met with the 49ers, he's a top 30 visit as well. If you don't get Lott, Aeneas Peebles would be a dynamic one. And even if you do get Lott, if you get maybe a one tech also, and you want a third guy that could pass rush that's probably going to have more pass rush ability than guys you currently have, like Kevin Givens, that are 3-tech, you absolutely could get Aeneas Peebles. This dude is a stud. It has been a really good, whether he was at Duke or he was at Virginia Tech. Very good player. So Aeneas Peebles. Now we're going to get into the last three guys as we get into the end of day 3 picks. Guys that could go anywhere from the end of round 4 through round 7. And I'm going to start with an edge rusher, Antoine Powell Ryland out of Virginia Tech. So I went Aeneas Peebles out of Virginia Tech, Antoine Powell Ryland out of Virginia Tech. And even though he's not as big as some of the other guys, this dude was productive at Virginia Tech. 16 sacks in the ACC. He just finds ways to win. And it's not dynamic speed. It's not dynamic power, athleticism. It's consistency. It's effort. It's handwork. It's technique. It's a good pass rush plan. And I think that's what I love about him is the fact that you see all the things that make a player a good football player, and he does those things well. He sets the edge pretty well against the run. It's not great. It's pretty good. And so that is an area that makes him fall down this draft board a little bit. But he's a consistent mid-round guy that you could get that can make an impact as part of your rotation. Not going to start, especially early on. Maybe he could develop into that. But I think he's a solid rotational piece as the 49ers are looking for production from their edge rushers that are coming into that Bravo unit. You can't always count on Nick Bosa or Until Gross Matos or whoever you draft early on in this draft to get the pressure. Sometimes on first and second down when Bosa's got a break or Gross Matos has got a break, you need the next wave to do it. Right now, Robert Beal Jr. hasn't been a great pass rusher. Sam Okuwanu was pretty good last year. He's got to continue that. So you need that guy, and Antoine Powell Ryland could be one of those guys that could eventually be like a Sam Okuwanu. I think he could have more production than Okuwanu. I think if he's on your Bravo team, I think he's a 6-sack guy, somebody that could really put pressure off the edge. I like him in this set. The other two are going to be wide receivers. DeAndre Lambert-Smith, who ran a 4.3 out of Auburn. This is a big physical wide receiver who just gets in and out of his breaks well. Whenever you're 6'5" and you run a 4.3, people start looking at you differently. And I think Lambert-Smith is a guy that operates, once again, I talked about this earlier, with Higgins. Is this another guy that gets in and out of his breaks well for a taller receiver? And so those are the types of things you look for that fit the 49ers scheme. Lambert-Smith does that, but he's got the athleticism to be able to win vertically. He's got the athleticism to win and outrun linebackers across the field when they're in zone coverage. There's a lot of things that you love about Lambert-Smith. I think he would be a solid selection. And somebody, once we get to like the 5th round, pick 160, I'd start pounding the table for him. And if for whatever reason he makes it into the 7th round, the first pick the 49ers make in the 7th round should be Lambert-Smith. I'm very adamant about his ability, especially if he didn't address wide receiver. I think he could be a very solid pick. And the last one is going to be Brew McCoy, wide receiver out of Tennessee. Once again, big wide receiver who can run, a 4.5 guy who's physical. Now, he's went from USC to Tennessee. He has had a lot of injury concerns. That's why he's down the list. But this is when you start drafting guys that you're drafting completely off potential. And you're not worried about those types of concerns because if you hit lightning, you strike lightning in a bottle, they could be a big-time player for you. McCoy is a good hand catcher. He's a guy that breaks a lot of tackles, gets a lot of yards after the catch. Lambert-Smith, I know I'm talking about McCoy, but I got to go back. Lambert-Smith, this dude, over 80%, I think it was over 75% of the time that he caught passes, they were for first downs or touchdowns. That's how Brew McCoy is. Now, not that level, right? Not that percentage, but he just makes plays, gets yards after the catch. He is a Jawan Jennings type player when it comes to getting yards after the catch, playing big. He doesn't block like Jawan. I'm not telling you he's Jawan. I'm saying a-esque player. When you're talking size, physicality, athleticism, he's faster than Jawan Jennings. But that's the kind of vibe you get with the way he competes. So it was, Brew McCoy at the end to kind of bring this thing up. And there are plenty of players that I didn't mention that I really like. But these are the guys who are the pound the table guys for me in this draft. Let me know in the comment section down below, who are your pound the table guys for the San Francisco 49ers? The guys that you have to have on your team. I'm really curious what you have to say. Of course, you're more than welcome to disagree. I don't have no problem with that. These are the guys that I like, and like I said, some of them are going to be right, some of them are going to be wrong. That's something that's happened throughout the process of evaluating draft picks. No one can be 100%, and I would argue no one can even be probably 50%. It's tough, but it's a lot of fun to talk about as we kind of gear towards 49ers figuring it out. Tomorrow is going to be my final mock draft, and I'm just going to tell you what I think the 49ers are going to do and try to make it a predictive draft. Do the best I can to locate the players the 49ers are going to select. I'm going to use the knowledge that we figured out so far through the top 30 visits and everything else. And we're going to try to put together the 49ers draft. Is it going to be completely accurate? We'll have to wait until Thursday to find that out. But that's what's upcoming tomorrow. Hope you guys will all join me for that. And if you got questions, go ahead, leave them in the comment section. If I have time, I'm going to get to an episode on Wednesday about getting those out so I can answer them before the draft on Thursday. Of course, Thursday, I'll be at the draft party, 49ers Draft Rush Road Trip Draft Party in San Francisco with John Chapman. I'll be there on Thursday and Friday. I'm going to try to get out standalone videos as well, talking about the draft picks. Once I get back, it's going to be some travel for me. So those are some things I'm going to be working on this week. Of course, on Saturday, I do plan on doing a live stream for day 3 of the NFL draft. You can join me for that. We're going to be going through it. We're going to be talking 49ers the whole time, breaking down the draft picks as they happen. Never join me for a day 3 mock draft, or not mock draft, day 3 of the draft. It's a lot of fun. So I hope you guys will all stop by for that. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you're listening audio platform, 49ers Cutback on Believe Network. This episode was brought to you by Bet Online. The game starts here. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Until then, stay safe. Remember, the right way is always the 49ers way.